Women will never tell you why they rejected you after the first date, unless you're on Reddit and a question is being asked, then because it's anonymous, they will. So what I did is I collected hundreds of those answers, and today in this video we're going to analyze that and we're going to see the main reasons why women in general reject men after a first date, after a first impression, etc. So if you've been wondering, then this video is going to tell you exactly the main reasons why you probably also got rejected. So watch until the end and maybe you will have your answer. So I pulled from those 4 Reddit threads. First one, what are the most common reasons for why you personally reject or would reject someone? I only took the ones that were from women. This one on Ask Women, what's the most shallow reason you ever rejected someone and do you regret it? 665 answers. This one, women, what was or would be the reason for you to reject someone 1 year ago, and it had 129 answers. And this one, 1 year ago on online dating, what might cause you to reject someone after 3 or 4 dates, and it had 197 answers. So I basically pulled all of those answers into, I selected them manually, so copy pasted them, and I pulled them into a document that I then used to ChatGPT so that it could analyze that and pull from it 10 biggest reasons for why women seem to say that they rejected men. So that's what we're going to go over now. So let's start from the bottom up. At the end we have trauma dumping, emotional desperation. One example is, he told me about his ex and how depressed he's been on the first date. I felt like his therapist. Now, one main reason why that is a problem, in case you're wondering, is because she's basically has to make an effort to pretend to be empathetic for a stranger, a guy that she barely knows about. That's putting negative vibes, negative emotions. She's here to have a good time. She made herself pretty. She's here to discover somebody else. She's not here to try to solve problems and have to deal with the awkwardness of that. And also, it can show weakness at this stage. That's usually a death threat at this stage of getting to know somebody. She wants to feel the best version of herself. She wants to feel you fun, secure, mentally healthy. She doesn't want to have to deal with this, okay? Next, we have lack of initiative, no clear intentions. We hung out 5 times and he never once made a move. I had no idea if he even liked me that way. So the problem here is, and it's what I used to do also, is waiting for a permission or for obvious signs before you make a move. And that is based on the fear of making a move too soon. So you go into that other extreme, which is I have to wait for a clear permission so I make sure that I don't offend her or get rejected. But that is not the right thing to do, because women, by habits, by culture, or whatever is the reason, it doesn't matter, they usually don't show you absolute green flags. So what do you do then if you want to make a move while at the same time avoiding to offend the person? You have to have a path in mind of how you can progressively escalate. And then, and this is the key here, you take the first step forward, okay? You put your hand on her shoulder. You try to get closer physically. You ask a question about her past. And you see how she reacts to that. If her reaction is positive, meaning she reciprocates, she says, and what about you? Or she gets also closer physically, or she looks like she likes the physical touch, or the physical contact, whatever, then you can just continue escalating. If on the opposite, she shows sign that she's offended or like surprised in some ways by that, then you take a step back too. And you show, hey, I'm socially calibrated. I understood this was something you didn't like. We can talk about something else. And you talk about something else. Once you know how to do that, then you have no excuse the next time. You cannot anymore not make a move. It's just not acceptable. Next, we have rudeness, bad manners. I'm not going to dwell on this one because I think my audience usually are not like that. But he was rude to the waiter, like condescending. That was it for me. So any types that shows that you disrespect people that have not disrespected you, it shows a lack of social calibration. It kills the vibe, and it basically shows that you're not fit to make her safe in the usual environment, because you might trigger some fights. You might maybe be condescending to her at some points. She cannot trust you enough so that you make her feel safe. The opposite of that is a guy that is generous and that is polite to people in general, while at the same time standing for himself if he get disrespect or those kind of things. So next we have arrogance over confidence. This is probably a trap you may fall into if you've been a nice guy and you try to overcompensate regarding that. One example is, all he did was brag about his car and how much he makes. Not once did he ask me anything about myself. So obviously some of you might already get why that is a problem. For the others, I just want to make a few words. It's because you've been watching way too much red pill content telling you that women like money and status and all of that. So you think that by putting that in front in a non-subtle way makes you attractive. But women look at things that are more in the details. Like they look at what you don't say, at the way you behave. If you're truly confident, think about it. You don't have to brag about things. The only people that brag about something is because they need to brag about it, otherwise people would not know. You can convey that you have an easy life and that you have a nice car, those things, but as long as it is subtle, it can work. But still, even there's some women that don't even really care about that because they already have a job, they don't really need you financially. You know, they want to have somebody that they connect with, that they have a great time with. When you brag, then you basically kill the vibe also. Why? Because, well, it's just unpleasant. It's weird. It's awkward. She's like, I don't feel that vibe anymore. I don't connect with him anymore. We're different people. I would not brag like that. If he does that, then we're probably not meant to be together. So next one is dry texting, poor communication, but I'm just not going to talk about that because that feels like it's just guys that were not interested. So it's not going to help you anyways. You know, if you're not interested, then you will do that by sense. So the next one is actually one of the most interesting. It's when the girl feels that you're too available and that you're not a challenge. And this is so misunderstood by guys because when they hear that, for example, this girl said, he would reply instantly to everything I said, always available, always saying yes. It felt like he had no life outside of me. When they hear that, then they try to artificially be a challenge. So they purposefully delay their answers for two hours, or they wait 3 days, those old rules, stuff like that. That's not what women want. They don't want you to artificially be a challenge, although, yeah, it feels a bit better when you're not that easy, but it's fundamentally what it is that they just don't want to feel like, oh, this guy, I'm basically his top priority, although he doesn't even know me. Because it signals that if she's your top priority just like that, your standards are probably very low, which means that you probably either have nothing else going on in your life, so your life sucks, then she doesn't want to be part of it, because then it means she's going to have a shitty life also. And at the same time, you might have stuff going on, you might have a career, but maybe she's the only attractive girl that you're talking to because you can't attract anybody else. That makes her think, well, maybe I should get away from this guy because I didn't see that he's actually not attractive. Just make sure of two things. You first make sure that you have things going on in your life. Your life is actually enjoyable for yourself. You have passions, you meet some people sometimes, you have friends, you have responsibilities, you have a good job, or just something you like doing in general, so that you're not directly available as soon as she sends you a text or something like that. Also, that will make you more interesting when you talk to them. And second, you make sure that you talk to more girls in general, so that when one particular girl sends you a message, you're not so anxious to answer her, because maybe you have others also to answer, and also you don't know her yet. You don't know if she's going to be the one for you, so why should you invest so much energy and time into her at this point? Next, and that's a big one, boring, no engaging conversation. Talking to him felt like a job interview, no jokes, no real opinions, just small talk. This is about social skills. It's not just for girls. If you do this with girls, there's a high chance you also do it in social interactions when you talk to strangers. You think that by playing it safe, it's actually better for your attractiveness than if you take some risks. That is usually stemmed from a lack of opportunity, a lack of occasions to talk to attractive women, so that when you have one, it feels so rare, you don't want to mess it up at all, so you play it as safe as possible. But therefore, because you play it safe, you will ask generic questions that don't risk anything. Because it's generic, it's boring, and so paradoxically, you actually lose her because of that. It's actually more risky to play it safe than to say things a bit out there, than to say a joke that maybe wouldn't make everybody laugh but makes you laugh. That's actually the safest way to go. Because the worst case scenario, if you say something she didn't like, maybe you will find out that you're just not meant to go out together. Maybe your personality are too different, if you see what I mean. Now, ideally, you will calibrate a little bit. You will not be too edgy, but you have to show your personality. Otherwise, how can they love you if they don't see anything special about you? That's the thing you need to understand. Now, beyond this fear of losing the person, it's possible that you're talking to women on a regular basis, but still, although you're relaxed and you're not afraid to, lose one or the other, you still feel like you don't know what to talk about. Your conversations are boring just because just don't know what to talk about. Maybe even with some friends and all, it's pretty generic. There's nothing special. And because that's something you never actually trained, then that is another problem. That means your creative brain, the playful brain, opposed to the serious logical brain, the playful brain is atrophied, it's never been trained. Now, this is something you can practice. And actually, just to plug this in very quickly, I made a free guide recently. It's an ebook, so it's pretty long, but it's actually made so that it's fun to read, where I explain exactly how to not be boring anymore in conversations. So if you're interested, if you want to know what to talk about, how to actually have fun when you speak to women and we speak with strangers, then you can have it. You just send me a DM. Information is going to be under this video, and I will just send it to you. And I would love your feedback, by the way, because I created it recently. In this ebook, you will find not only theory, of course, about what is boring, why you're doing it, how to feel more comfortable, but also you will find practical exercises that I took some time to develop myself, which are exercises inspired from improvisation comedy, where I teach you how to have just unexpected discussions, meaning discussions that she can't really predict them, therefore it's never boring. And also you will also enjoy doing those things. And the goal is really to make this second nature so that you don't have to think when you speak to women, and you enjoy the conversations. They want to see you again. They text you first. They said, "Oh, I had such a blast with you the other day. What are you doing this weekend? When are we seeing each other?" Those kind of things. And it's things that I also struggled with in the past. I managed to learn these exact techniques and ways of speaking. And now I'm in a happy relationship. It's been almost 4 years with this girl, and we're literally laughing every day thanks to basically the same principles. So if you want that, again, send me a DM. Information is going to be under this video, and I would love to send it to you. Next, we have no emotional spark, no chemistry. Now, that's the thing. When they say, for example, he was nice and respectful, but I just didn't feel anything, they literally tell you, what does that mean? They didn't feel anything. They didn't feel a spark. What does that mean? The emotional impact was absent. They didn't feel any emotions that made her want to do something with this. Now, if you think about it, what could be those emotions they're talking about? Arousal could be one. She didn't feel aroused, she didn't want to rip your clothes off and have sex with you. Laughter, she maybe didn't laugh at all. She didn't even chuckle. It was pretty boring, which then refers to the previous point I was making. It could be curiosity, shock. She's learning things about you, like, oh, I'm actually an adventurer. I went on a deserted island. I lived there for 10 years. What? Really? Yeah. Or my parents are adopted. They're actually both from Japan, or something like that. Who knows? And those things then entertain the conversation. But in general, I would say it's mainly two things that you should do and focus on. It's laughter, so fun, and arousal. Laughter is explained by, for example, the PDF I told you about, but it's basically the previous point. And arousal is about moving the conversation forward. And that is more the point I made about, not taking the lead, not moving things forward. You basically you get those dates, it's going well, but you're never making a step forward, you're never getting physical. And so, yeah, of course, because of that, she doesn't feel any arousal for you because you feel like a asexual man, a guy without any sexual vibe. So with this previous one, we entered the podium of top 3 reasons why women probably rejected you. The second reason now is hygiene, physical repulsion. Now, of course, it's the second one. I mean, that makes sense, right? Definitely, this is something I shouldn't even tell you. But one example is he smelled like he hadn't showered in days. I mean, just imagine this, and just I feel sorry for the girl, you know. This should be common knowledge. Now, I get it. Some people might have, you know, you might take care of your hygiene in general, but nobody ever told you that your breath smells, for example, or something else that, you know, maybe your natural body odor is strange for people. But that is something you need to know about as soon as possible. So if you know some people that you can trust 100% that would tell you the truth and would do it really, and you believe that they would tell you the truth, then ask them. Make sure that you take care of that. If necessary, I don't know, go see a doctor. Somebody that, you know, it's their job to take care of you, and they will tell you if they smell something. But yeah, really take care of that. Use deodorant, use things for your perfume. I mean, you know, you put some perfume on. That's what I would say for this. Pretty straightforward, right? And the number one reason why women said they rejected men before is weird vibes, social awkwardness. For example, he just gave me this unsettling feeling. Couldn't put my finger on it. Now, listen, that could be a lot of different things. But in general, it's usually your lack of social experience. If you speak to people on a regular basis, if you know how to introduce yourself, if you know how to have a normal conversation with somebody, and if you feel relaxed also on this date, then you will never give those vibes. Now, good news is this is something you can totally change in a matter of weeks, months, if you just do it consistently. You need to have first practice, and then you need to have a short feedback loop. So maybe some friend going with you that is already socially calibrated to help you see what you're doing wrong, what you're doing in a weird way. It could be nervousness. It could be you don't understand that maybe some topics you shouldn't talk about them in some circumstances, so it's lack of social calibration. It could be being too physical too soon. It could be looking at people with a weird facial expression. You know, at this point it could be really a lot of different things. So you will need specific feedback. You will need to have somebody looking at what you're doing and telling you what you're doing wrong. Now, I know at this stage some of you are going to say, "Oh, but I don't do any of those things. So why am I still getting rejected? This has just been a waste of time." Of course. Now, here's the thing. First of all, maybe you're one of those cases where you're doing most of the things right, but there's one thing maybe down the line that I didn't show that is one of the reasons why they rejected you. That's possible. It's not because the reason why they reject you is like super rare that it doesn't exist. Others will probably say you didn't mention physical attractiveness. Here we're talking about second stages, you know, like it's not a guy that they didn't match on a dating app. It's a guy that they met on the first date and they just didn't want to see again. So usually they meet how? I mean, they either saw the person before or they saw them on the dating app. So of course, unless it's a catfish, which usually isn't the case for guys, then they didn't mention that the physical appearance was the reason why they didn't want to see them again. And there's actually a client of mine recently. He's getting a lot of matches on the dating apps, and because he was not getting second dates, we were working on it, but you know, it's sometimes it can take a toll on your mental health. He was saying, "Oh, but it has to be my looks because I'm doing everything right on the dates." And I always asked him, like, how do you know that you're doing everything right? And that is the exact question I want to ask you, which is, how do you know that the things I've mentioned, you're actually not doing them? Because let's take one of them, for example, being boring. Okay, you're saying, "No, I'm not boring." But how do you know? Maybe they're smiling because they want to be polite. Maybe they chuckle because you chuckle. Maybe you're having a good time, you're not bored, but maybe she is for some reason. How do you know? Women, they can fake very easily that they're fine with you and that they're not completely. They will never tell you, "Oh, you're so boring, get the fuck out." No, they will never say that. So that's just one idea, but that can be anything else. It can be so many things. Hygiene, for example. "Oh yeah, no, I'm taking showers. I'm using a good deodorant and all of that." Maybe the deodorant you're using stinks. How do you know? So that's the first thing I want to tell you at the end of this video. is that you need proper feedback. You need somebody with experience, or at least a large number of anonymous women, ideally, to tell you what you're doing wrong. Now, large number of anonymous women, that's difficult, especially if you have to find them in face-to-face, because they have to smell you. I don't even see how you could do that. But so what remains is experienced men that have done that before, helping other guys, and therefore can help you. It could be me, but some other coach or expert that you find you like. And the second thing you need to have is to find joy in the process of going out there talking to people. You know, when I tell you don't be boring and learn how to improve your social skills, have social calibration, that is sometimes difficult for guys to integrate because they feel like it's an effort all the time. But that's simply because they go with the wrong frame. They think with an agenda of, oh, I'm going out there because I want to have a girlfriend, or I'm going out there because I want to talk to people. But you have to understand that it's not going to happen in one day. And so if you're not having fun in the process of meeting people, then you're never going to be consistent, you're never going to stick to it, and you're never going to find that person ultimately, unless you're super lucky. But let's be honest, if you meet a girl by luck, then you know it's by luck, which means that if you lose her, or if you have the threat of losing her happening, then you will be needy by essence, which we saw is unattractive behavior. Okay, so what you need is have fun in the process. How do you have fun in the process of being social? Because that's the thing you will have to do the most, being social. Instead of thinking, how can I get this person? How can I impress these guys or whatever? You think, how can I enjoy the things I want to say right now? Like, what can I say or do? That's better said. What can I say or do that is going to make myself entertained right now? Okay, so obviously except touching her boobs in the beginning of the day, that's feels like you would have fun, but probably she wouldn't. So in any case, it probably would not be the right thing to do. But for example, saying a joke that you like, saying a joke that makes you laugh genuinely. It can even be some stupid shit that makes you laugh. Like for example, when you say, that's what she said, you know, the famous thing. She says something and says, that's what she said. Like maybe she will not laugh at this, but who cares? Because from the moment that you have a blast, guess what? The chances that she finds that at least funny or fun increases. And if she really doesn't have the same humor as you, guess what? You have not lost anything, because she probably wouldn't be your girlfriend anyways. So let's wrap this up. And again, if you want me to share with you the short guide that I made about how to not be boring in conversations, not just with women, but also when you go on your first job interview, when you talk to friends of a friend, when you meet new people in general, when you want to make the cashier laugh, when you're talking to people in the store, all of those circumstances, when you're going to get invited in the next birthday party from your colleagues or whatever, then send me a message. You will see instructions under this video, and I will share with you this guide that I made with love for you for free to show you and to help you practice, because that's the point. It's a practical guide that you can practice at home, the skill of not being boring with conversations. So if you want that, send me a DM and I will send it to you. Thanks for watching this video, and I see you in the next one.